Every single day, I speak with people that basically tell me that they're good to go with their US LLC making 50K per month, 100K per month in the online space. And this is genuinely one of the, I would say, biggest mistakes that I see online entrepreneurs making is to think that the US LLC is so reliable and that they will never get in trouble for using one after scaling past a certain level. And the reality is that this was the case back in 2024, 2023, because the market was way less saturated. But things are changing a lot, and there are way better alternatives nowadays to use if you're making bigger and bigger numbers month after month. You want to be secured, you want your money to be safe, you still want advantages, you still want the offshore tax advantages, of course, and besides that, you will see that you can basically get a lot of different benefits. So let's get straight into it. The first important thing with US LCs is you have to realize most fintech options are simply bad banking. Now, of course, there are exceptions that can be seen as potentially better, right? But usually they're US only, USD only, US based fintechs, or there are fintechs that can be way better in terms of security in other countries, right? So this is, for example, the kind of email that my client recently received. He speaks German, he's German, and he received a wise email saying, hey, we decided to close your account. No reason given, no, warning beforehand or anything like that. They just straight away close the account. They don't care. It's up to you to basically be careful about your money with Wise. They won't let you know if something is wrong. They'll just close, right? And this is not possible if you're handling bigger and bigger numbers. You cannot be making 100K per month and have your account closed out of the blue, where literally you just one day open up your app and cannot see your money. This is not possible. Revolut is a little bit less bad as Wise on this, but they still do quite much the same. It happened to us. We used to use Revolut in the US thinking Revolut is good, right? They just suddenly close your account. And then when you look into why, one transaction they're not happy about. 1 month you make more money than you used to. They're not happy about it. They just close your account. They do not care. So once again, guys, do not be cheap on something like managing your finance, managing your money, because that is the number one thing you need to have full trust, full clarity, and full certainty on. Otherwise, you will not be making the money that you want hassle-free, and you will put more work and effort into actually managing the money that comes in rather than working on the tasks that will bring you more money. And that is the number one thing you need to work on, not trying to figure out how your money is going to come onto your account. That is not worth your time or your energy. Now, the second thing is a market problem, right? This is the reality in 2026. Everybody thinks having US LLC is the absolute perfect solution. And many people that used to make no money 2 years ago suddenly start making money. And the problem with that is that these people learn online business structures based solely on the US LLC model. And because of that, they believe that the US LLC model is the best one. They believe that it's the only one. And because of it, they basically just all started opening US LLCs. Because of that, what used to be easy, sorting out bank applications with Mercury, with Relay, with Revolut Business, with Wise, is now super complicated. A lot of banks that used to give accounts super easily are now no longer allowing these people to get banks, or they get asked for a lot more information that they never get basically asked for before. Things like proving that you have US clients, things like proving that you have electricity bill in America or some sort of address in America. They would never ask for this before, or at least it would be very, very easy to bypass. It is no longer the case. Some banks nowadays be asking for these documentation, and even if you provide it to them, they still do not approve the accounts. Now, of course, there are alternatives once again, but if we look at long term, we cannot depend on the system when things are uncertain. And yes, you could go for retail banking. You could go get an ITIN, open a Bank of America, open a Chase, open more traditional banks. But once again, it will be very unsuitable for international business, and it's going to be the most complicated structure if you're working with non-US clients, which a lot of you guys are, and that, you want to receive euros, you want to receive GBP, you want to receive other currencies. You don't want to depend on the US dollar. Well, we're going to talk about the alternative. And the alternative is right here. It's Hong Kong companies. It is slept on. Nobody is lining up. Nobody is using it. Everybody is so focused on the US LLC thinking this is the real deal. But Hong Kong is way better, and I'm going to explain exactly why in this video. So let's keep going, guys. Another thing I've seen a lot on US LLCs is more AML restrictions. The thing with AML restrictions is they've always existed, and they do exist a lot in Hong Kong as well. But in Hong Kong, it's clear. You know what you're supposed to do, and you know what you're not supposed to do. In the US, it's more, let's say, indirect. Like you're going to receive money, they're not going to say anything, and then suddenly out of nowhere, they close your account. Oh yeah, because of AML restrictions, we have to close. What did I do? You couldn't tell me that something was wrong about the way I made my transactions when I got those transactions. And at least I keep my bank account. No, we just decided to close it. There's nothing you can do about it. In Hong Kong, they proceed differently. In Hong Kong, you know when you cannot receive money because your transaction is not accepted. And they will reject transactions way more than in the US when they're not happy about those transactions. But they will never close your account. So if a transaction doesn't go through, you try again, you send it to another bank, you don't lose your money. In the US, if they close your account, and for XYZ reason they decide that for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks they keep your money, well, you can't really do anything about it. So I would rather be aware of what I can and cannot do than in this case, suddenly getting your account closed. Of course, banking support being really bad in the US is a big problem. Now, a lot of people say Airwallex bank support in Hong Kong is not good either. And if you only look at the typical bank support, I would say that it's the same problem everywhere. Now, having insiders helps a lot, of course, and the level of connectivity that we have with our insiders is particularly good on that aspect, so we're able to skip this kind of problem. A lot of people run LLCs completely in a way that is not compliant. They have no idea about it, and the reason for it is because it is super easy to open an LLC. Anybody can just go online, pay a couple $100, get an LLC set up, and basically think, oh, I'm good, I'm set. But you're not. There's many things that many people are not aware of when it comes to compliance. They don't know how to be compliant on reportings. They don't know how to be compliant towards their tax residency. They don't know how to be compliant on running their business, on making the transactions, etc., etc. With Hong Kong, it's way more structured because you have an accountant and because you know straight away what you can and what you cannot do. Once again, clarity. That's what's lacking in the US. Now, what is the alternative to this? Of course, I've been talking about the negative. I've been talking about what is not good with the US LLC when you start making money. But today, the goal is not just to do that. The goal is to tell you what is the genuine alternative. And this alternative is what we've been doing for every single one of our clients that makes over, I would say, 30 to 40K per month. Having some clients making hundreds of thousands of dollars per month, people like, Su Weigo, as you probably know, other guys in the same space, other guys in other spaces like Rayston making, a lot more money than just 30 to 40K per month. And it's been working successfully for them with way bigger numbers than just the typical, 30, 40K per month mark. And the setup is the following one. And as you can see in this setup, I keep in consideration the presence of a US LLC, and I will explain why. So you receive your payments. Depending on the kind of business model you have, right? I try to be as generic as possible here. You might as well use either bank transfers or payment processors, which could be WAP, or which could be something else for that matter. Then that lands into either the US company or the Hong Kong limited company. What is the difference? Well, here we want to split, essentially. We want to split apart onto the US so you can get access to credit cards, especially if you have a business where you make a lot of ad spendings. It can be super smart to use this method. And then you just redirect it to your American Express, Chase Sapphire, whatever credit card you are able to apply for. Can also set you up on applying for credit cards in the US, of course. And then on the other side, you have the Hong Kong side of things, right? The Hong Kong limited side of things, which essentially is where you will store your money, where you will proceed to the majority of money management, but not specifically the spending side of things. If you want to get the most out of spendings, then you want to use a US credit card, because of course it's going to be one of the best US credit. Like, so it's one of the best credit cards on that aspect. And then you have a personal bank account, you get paid out from either the US LLC, the Hong Kong Limited, onto your personal bank account. This does not work if you are still in a high tax country, by the way. Like, if you are not an expat, you haven't relocated, then do not do this. Use your bank account, only professionally, and do not make payouts. Or at least do not make payouts until you have changed your tax residency. Otherwise, you're going to be taxed on this, and that's not the goal. I do not advise people to, do this if they stay a tax resident forever in their home country, and it involves at some point relocating or having a structure where you're not owning really your company and you're essentially, utilizing directorship methods like nominees. Now, I'll make a whole different video about that because it's a bit complex, but essentially, this is the setup you want to go for. And to look at like how it is with Hong Kong, I'm going to show you in a minute. Basically, Hong Kong is a jurisdiction that offers a lot of benefits that the US does not have with the US LLC. The kind of benefits I am talking about is basically safer structure to handle high transaction volumes without needing to open physical banks, relying solely on fintechs. You cannot do that in the US. You could not have the safety and the trust that you will have in Hong Kong when it comes to receiving large amounts of money onto your fintechs. You could have that, but you would have to open a branch bank, which is way more complicated. Simplifying receiving bank transfers. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but basically there is a specific feature in Hong Kong that does not exist in the US, or at least it exists in a few banks, but these banks are usually Hong Kong based actually, and they have branches in the US. And again, the level of safety of the US side of those banks cannot really be compared to the way it is in Hong Kong. It's not as safe. And even though these banks are the same on paper between the two countries, they're way safer in Hong Kong than they are in the US. No restrictions on company use for personal expenses. This is the same as in the US. 0% corporation tax works the same as in the US. The CPA presence, and obviously that also includes secretary management for companies, is something that you don't have in the US, or at least it's not a de facto thing. Most people will never get this in the US, simply because it's not a requirement. In Hong Kong it is. So you will get a much more structured approach to your own company, which you wouldn't have in the US. So it's obviously a big plus. The direct contact with the banks, I will talk about this in a minute as well. 10 days to set up, a little bit faster in the US, but overall about the same. And I would say better reputation. If someone comes up to me and has a US LLC, my reputation level is going to be, I would say, neutral. It's not a bad reputation. It's not a good reputation. It's neutral. It's pretty good. Hong Kong has, I think, a better reputation because it's that finance place. It's something a little bit better on that aspect. And I personally believe it does show more credibility. So that's a plus as well. To talk a little bit about compliance. So as I said before, we work with a team of certified CPAs in Hong Kong, and that also includes an audit every year. That audit ensures accountancy is performed correctly, that you maintain tax exemption, and that you're basically able to show a good record of your company when it comes to reportings. It's a little bit better than in the US on this because you can show that your company did all of its reports properly. It has no direct, I would say, like tax implication towards any other country. It's just for the sake of Hong Kong government. But in the long run, I feel like it just shows better credibility towards the company. And of course, it maintains the possibility to prove that you own the right to not pay tax, which is obviously a great thing. Banking connections. Okay, so this one is a big one. Banking connections is obviously a big thing for us. I mentioned it before, but I mentioned it again. We have a variety of different banking connections. We do have that in the US as well. But again, the level of it in Hong Kong is way better because I go there quite a lot, spend a lot of time there. So whenever I go meet my partners within the banks, so AirWallex, Payoneer. We're building partnerships with other banks as well. And basically that ensures great communication and fast support and can basically contact with these banks in case anything goes wrong or in case you have any question that we would not directly be able to answer for you or that our team in Hong Kong wouldn't be able to answer. Then who is better to answer those questions than the people from the fintechs themselves. Obviously a no-brainer. And then last but not least, this is really a big one. To be honest, that is something that changed the way that we have been doing business. And that is the possibility of receiving money internationally whenever we're working with a client from any country using a domestic bank method. Instead of having to receive money through an international SWIFT, it takes 4 days, gets lost, costs high fees, and is genuinely just the lowest, most ridiculous way of receiving money. You can use an IBAN, a bank detail, for every currency with a local matching banking method in the country of the currency. So if, for example, you're transacting in euros, you're going to receive money with a German IBAN starting with DE. If you're receiving money on a GBP payment, you can use a UK account with an account number and a sort code. USD, account number, routing number. Singapore dollar, SG account. Germany account, again, UAE account, dirham account, and it gets received same day. No need to pass through international payments that can take 4 days or anything like that. So that is a big plus because you rely less on payment processors. You reduce your fees when it comes to receiving payments, especially if you have a high ticket business. If you have an e-commerce business, of course, that does not reflect in your case because you're relying only on payment processors. But service-based businesses, coaching businesses, anything selling high ticket, honestly, this is goated because you can pretty much just reduce tremendously the cost and also have your money quicker. And I cannot tell you how valuable this has been implementing this for our business, but also for our clients' business, of course, as everything just gets way smoother in the process. I hope you guys liked this video and that you understood the reason why Hong Kong is way better than the US in terms of security, of structure. If you guys have questions, more than happy to answer them in the comment section. I also have my Instagram listed underneath this video in the description. Feel free to go shoot me a DM if you have any question or you want to talk or you have a specific situational thing that you want to share with us. More than happy to do that. I hope this helped and I wish you guys an amazing day. See you very soon for more content.